Well then, hello everyone. To our very first episode of Meet the Streamer, where we bring in streaming personalities of the Borderlands community, and ask them a few questions from us, from the community, and have some pep talk, have some banter. For our very first episode, and to be honest, I'm very excited. We decided to go above and beyond to get the one and only Mitsu on the stream, actually. So,
Hello, everybody.
say hi, Mitsu.
Hi, Mitsu. Wait, what am I doing? Oh, am I supposed to say the thing that you said, or am I just supposed to say hi?
No, you just say hi, and that's good. That's good. You're doing very good.
Oh, yes. All right, nailing this.
So, Mitsu, for anyone who doesn't know, shame on them. What do you do?
Me? Oh, so I am a 7.5-year partnered Twitch streamer. I also write, produce, direct, and host the Bordercast, as well as write, produce, direct, host. No, well, I don't host, but I am sometimes referenced off screen as an unseen producer on Ultimate Vault Hunters because that's what I do. Hosted by Liz55, who some of you may know, and of course, I am third chair on the Borderlands show.
That's amazing. That's a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, and we want to also welcome our second guest. I think more known by our community here because he's quite active in Borderlands channels. Nootmad. We want to say something about yourself, introduce you to the people who don't know you.
So hello, my name is Nootmad. Unlike Mitsu, I am not a 7.5-year Twitch partner. I am about a 3-month affiliate, I think, when I started streaming, basically 3 months ago as well. But yeah, been enjoying a lot of streaming. I also do a bunch of YouTube stuff about Mo's specifically, and yeah, that's about me in a nutshell.
So you're streaming for 3 months, and if I remember well, you reached like 2,000 subscribers this Friday. Right?
Yes, on YouTube, yeah, hit
that's
2,000 subscribers, which is pretty huge, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Congratulations on that, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and ask you, maybe for starters, why do you main Mo's out of all Vault Hunters that there are there?
It's probably the biggest question. I guess it started when when it was like before the game release, and they were slowly like dropping different like tidbits of characters. And initially, I believe they revealed Amara and Zane were the first two characters they showed off, and then they had the gameplay demo on Ascension and Bluff. And I didn't really like them so much, and then they showed off Flak, and we saw some Flak gameplay, and then I was like, oh, Beastmaster, this is really cool. And then all of a sudden they released Mo's stuff on the Eden 6 demo, and we saw the mech and Mo's and just shooting stuff forever. And that just sort of caught my eye. I was like, I'm gonna main this person. So yeah, that basically made me wanna main Mo's.
So from the start, very start, the start of Mo's.
Yep.
Okay.
Been a loyal man.
Okay, so like, what got you into the streaming Borderlands? I mean, playing the game is one thing, but why did you start streaming it?
So I guess streaming it started from my YouTube. So I started doing YouTube stuff, or at least I posted like just a single build in November, and then things got busy and I never got back to it. And then about mid-June, start of July, I figured, you know what? I mean, I've been doing like a bunch of stuff in the builds channel already, doing that builds document. And I figured, why not just make videos about it and post it out to reach a wider audience to just show people what Mo's is capable of and what you can do with Mo's builds when you like truly like crunch the numbers and do like really min-max sort of builds. So I started doing that, and then I had a lot of other questions about why does Mo's scale with this? Why is that happening? So then I started my Ultimate Mo's Guide series, where I figured I'd just try and teach people as much as I can about Mo's when it comes to like damage scaling, how his skills work, and those sorts of things. And then a lot of people in my comment section on those videos are like, hey, you should stream. I'd be pretty interested to see how you like build Mo's and just answer questions while we're live. So I figured, why not try that? Why not try that? So yeah, basically mid-July, start of August, on the 31st of July was my first stream. So yeah, I started streaming there, and yeah, haven't looked back since. It's been nothing short of an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually amazing that you got like so many followers that quickly. So it's cool. It's cool to see that people of the community are still getting so much support, even if they're like not big names yet.
For sure. No, the Borderlands community is just one of the best communities I've ever been a part of. Everyone's so supportive. Everyone just wants to have fun, and just hang out, and yeah, they're really great.
Yeah, it's amazing. But like, since we asked the question on the same note, Mitsu, what actually got you into streaming, and like, how did you end up with like directing like 3 projects for Gearbox with the Borderlands show, the Bordercast, and Ultimate Vault Hunters.
Luck.
Amazing.
Let's really break down what it means to be a streamer here. Everybody who streams turns on one and they have a vision. For me, when I started streaming a long time ago, even before I had any idea that this is something I wanted to do, I used to play a lot of League of Legends, for example, because I was broke and it was free to play. So that's just what you do when you have to make financial decisions, such as play the free to play game. And while I was playing it, I wanted to learn more. So what happens when you want to learn more? You start watching streamers. So there weren't many back in 2009, 2010, but Twitch did exist, Justin TV existed, and I used to watch Saint Vicious, and I still do to this day. But when you see somebody like that who's got the same kind of attitude towards things, who makes people laugh, who's very dry and sarcastic, and all they're doing is just playing a game and talking to people, you go in your head, wait a second, I could do that. I could absolutely do that thing. So I was like, okay, let me save up some money. So you get a job, save up some money. Let me build my first computer. We'll make it so that I can stream. I know I'll get like a webcam eventually. What was it? Everybody has their face cam reveal eventually, except for Joel, who will never do it. Or Baru, who instead went back on it. So I got myself a webcam. I built $1,000 computer. Played Borderlands 2 pretty dang well. And I just tried to start streaming from there, and I made lots of friends. We all became a close-knit community. Everybody grew up together, and now they're all doing amazing things. Now I'm doing amazing things. About a year and a half before Borderlands 3 launched, maybe a month or two before the launch party in LA, I got approached from some folks at 2K saying, hey, we're doing this cool stream team idea. Do you want to come on and be a part of the stream team? Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do that thing. That sounds like exactly everything I've ever wanted to do in my life. I was working at Starbucks at the time, and I realized I couldn't do that and also work for Starbucks. So I quit my job at Starbucks to take a chance on doing all of these Borderlands projects, and they were just like, here, do the podcast now. Here, write another show. Here, come host the Borderlands show every now and again. Okay. And that's just kind of how it went from there. So
like the whole thing with the Borderlands show and everything happened because they offered you to be on a streaming team and then just, gave you more responsibilities as you went along, and they saw it worked.
I think I remember who I initially talked to. It was a wonderful human being, somebody I miss very sorely. Her name is Mel, and Mel used to work for 2K as their influencer relations manager. And I have a feeling between Mel and Scott, they always had this vision of seeing me as this hosting personality kind of person. So I think they saw something that I didn't even know in myself that I had going for me, and they kind of wanted to like nurture that and help me grow as a more well-rounded personality along the way. And it meant the world, but I don't know. I never had that conversation with them, but it just kind of felt like they had this vision and they wanted me to walk this path, and they're trusting me every step of the way to continue walking it. So.
Okay. Well, I will have a question for Nootmad now. Like if we talk about origins, how did do you boys get into all that streaming? What originally got you into Borderlands series?
I think I had my 360, and then me and my friends were just looking for like a pretty good co-op game to play. And then one of the trailers for Borderlands 2 dropped, and it was all about like 4-player co-op and jump in and shoot all these random aliens and just go to all these really cool looking places. So we figured, why the hell not? Like, it looked perfect. And, like, the art style was really unique as well. So that really got me into it. And then after I played Borderlands 2, I saw there was Borderlands 1 as well. So we went back and played that as well, and that was really cool. But yeah, basically it just started with trying to find a really good co-op game to play with my friends, and yeah, haven't looked back since. Still play with my friends till this day. One of those friends I still play Borderlands 3 with from time and time again, and like funny enough, it actually is one of the games that brings us together every now and again, because we were friends in high school, but then we sort of like diverted once university started, and we all like had our own lives. But every time a new Borderlands 3 DLC drops, we get back together, we play it, have fun. But yeah, it's really good.
So Newt, you said you played Borderlands 1 before Borderlands 1 after you played Borderlands 2, is that right? Yeah. So this is more like a question to maybe both of you, if Mitsu did the same. Like, How did you guys feel going to Borderlands 1 after playing the successor, which was already one of these super big games for the last 7 years?
Mitsu, would you want to take this first?
So, well, I'm a little different. I grew up originally playing Borderlands, the original, when it was out. Back in, I don't think I played on release. I think I played in 2010. A friend of mine was like, "Hey, you really like looters, and you really like shooting games, and there's this cool game where you shoot stuff and the guns pop out, and you can just pick them up and equip them and shoot them right there and then." And it's got like stats like World of Warcraft, which I know you also like. So it's got all these cool little things and aspects to it. You might try it. It's called Borderlands. Say, all right. And I played it, and of course it was wonderful. And then I got to play 2 afterwards. Going back to 1, there are aspects of 1 that I do actually miss. I still miss when the Hellfire was super busted, like the old days. Double Anarchy. I miss Double Anarchy. I miss the Pestilent Defiler, when that thing would just absolutely shred everything at its mama. Yeah, oh god, please. And then the Chimera. I think if they were, I don't want them to bring back any more guns, but if they were going to bring back one more gun, the Chimera is just fun. And for those of you who don't know, it's a hand cannon, because hand cannons and repeater pistols were actually separate categories in Borderlands 1. It was a hand cannon, and every shot had a chance to do a different elemental type damage. So one shot could be cryo, well, I guess now it could be. But one shot back in the day was corrosive, one shot could be fire, one shot could be explosive. It was wonderful. And they just don't have a gun like that now. And I would like to see it. I would like to see it come back in some form.
Man, it sounds amazing on Lilith. Actually, like I also played had my fill of Borderlands 1. I played the Switch version actually, and decided to go with Lilith. And as you said, the Hellfire. I had like a Hellfire level 15, and it carried me until the end, through the end, even beyond through the DLCs. It's just so strong. And what about you, Nootmad?
Yeah, one of the biggest things I noticed going from Borderlands 2 to Borderlands 1 was basically what you said, like how much longer you can keep a good legendary weapon for. Where in like Borderlands 2, you could have a weapon for maybe that lasted like 5 levels. Maybe some better ones would last a little bit longer, but in Borderlands 2, Borderlands 1, like you mentioned, you can have one that will last you like 15 levels even. If it's a good one, you can make it even last longer. So that's one of the biggest things I've noticed. And then just the general art style as well. You can see it was obviously a little bit more downgraded in Borderlands 1, obviously because that's the original, but you can see where that sort of inspiration design came from. It was really cool to see that they really stuck through and consistent with the whole cell shaded, like gritty art style sort of thing, which is really cool to see. Otherwise, the gameplay was also kind of similar, but obviously you can tell that BL2 improved upon certain aspects, which is always what you want to see in a sequel. It was good to go back to the original just to see where the whole series started from and like how they're like building upon the universe and the lore and all that. It was good. Yeah.
Well, we had a Chimera here as the gun that is missing in like newer game. So what is the one gun you would bring back from older games to BL3 if you could? Like with all
So Mitsu already
everything.
mentioned, it would be the Pestilent Defiler. There was just something so satisfying about shooting the Defiler. Like the sound it made, like that crack, and it really felt like you were shooting a hand. Really, really felt like you were shooting a hand cannon. And as good as the sound design is in Borderlands 3 for the weapons, like they absolutely knocked it out of the park. But I feel like the Defiler would be like perfectly at home with just the way it sounds and the way it feels and the way it shoots. I think that would be a really great gun to bring back for sure.
Okay. Well, while we're talking about guns and like very specific kind of guns, I'll ask Mitsu maybe. What are your thoughts on specific item synergies? Like for example, Law and Order from BL2. Like would it have place in BL3? Like, guns that like work together, guns and shield, for example.
So, I grew up in the World of Warcraft days, especially early World of Warcraft, and back then, with video games, especially in games like WoW, they had item set bonuses. So if you had, for example, 5 pieces of armor, you'd get a nice bonus for it. If you had 4, maybe you'd get all up to 4, something like that. And I like that idea. I like having item sets and encouraging people to go out and get this so that you can also use this to its maximum effectiveness. I like that a lot. I don't know how hard it stands up in Borderlands because we only have shield, artifact, obviously all 4 weapon slots, and class mod, and what am I forgetting? I'm forgetting something.
The class com maybe.
Grenades.
Yeah, class mod.
Grenades.
Grenades, yeah, thank you, yeah. So you don't have too many spots to play around with to kind of build synergies like that. But one of the things that Borderlands does do is they like to push the envelope and take risks every now and again. I think that it would be really cool to see if maybe they do something like that with an arm, like if they make another arms race map, for example. I would like to see what drops in that arms race map be a set bonus kind of gear, and maybe not a gun, but like an artifact and a shield and a class mod that all work together in tandem to create a build that people can use. And it doesn't have to be the most overpowered one in the world, but it could be competitive and stand toe to toe with everything else. I'd like to see that a lot, actually.
Okay, one more question. Horde or Alliance involved?
Oh, Horde. Are you kidding me? Horde are good
Perfect.
guys.
That's a good answer. Okay, awesome. Rumpy?
Yeah, but like, since we're talking, since you like touched on like the arms race right now, like the newest addition to Borderlands 3, also like a question to you guys, like, are you guys liking the new expansion so far? Are you guys still like having fun with Borderlands 3, even though it doesn't have things like the Pestilent Defiler or the Chimera? I mean, I know it's a hard hit, but like, maybe it's still fun. Who knows?
I think it's been a breath of fresh air for the game, because I definitely felt like it fell into a bit of a lull after DLC 4, and there wasn't really much like happening around the time. But then all of a sudden, Arms Race came out, and it was really unique. It was definitely a risk they took for sure, because it's very much Borderlands, but at the same time not Borderlands, because you don't have these skills, you don't have your action skills, and Borderlands sort of markets itself on its crazy action skills and all those sorts of synergies you have with different skills and weapons. So I think it definitely was a huge risk they took with the fact that you can't use your skills, you can't use your action skills, but they did it in such a way where you don't need it, because you can really pick up any gun. Like, you can pick up a white rarity gun and you can kill boss with it. You can do anything with it. And I feel like that sort of build variety is something that you can't really get in the base game, because you can pick up a white gun and it might be okay, but you can't really do anything with it. And you really do need those legendaries. And at the same time, in Arms Race, when you do get a legendary, it feels like you're really getting a legendary weapon, because then all of a sudden your power spikes up and you're just destroying everything. But I really think like that sort of gameplay loop of like dropping in with nothing, gearing up, and then going to fight the boss, also trying to get other special weapons along the way. I think it's a really cool idea, and I think Gearbox really nailed it with that one for sure.
The Maggie. That is my response. The Maggie. It's in Arms Race. It is absolutely incredible. What is it? I unintentionally, but I guess intentionally, in a way, I got 3 Maggies in a row, and every time I would just get like angry on stream, just like, oh, just go crazy with it, because you are untouchable. Like, Revenants came after me, and I was like, hey, that's cool. Pop, 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 done. All right, cool. Oh, here comes the other one. Pop, 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 done. All right, maybe I should go fight the boss now. This is too easy. But that's the Maggie. Like, you just win. It's the I win button. And there are a few others like that. Trevinator holds up really well now, thanks to the buffs to that. That made me super happy. Fastball. If you get a fastball, you're just obviously annihilating everything in your path. It's wonderful. So yeah, I love Arms Race. I think it's great. The new skill trees are wonderful additions, but for me, I have been so focused on just playing Arms Race because I like exactly what Newt said. I like that you can pick up any gun, any single gun in the entire game. Some of them will suck. You got to make do. Some of them will be amazing. You don't have to worry as much. But that's fun. No more math.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not a math guy.
Exactly.
I'm a shoot guy.
Yeah. Like, one thing I like personally a lot is how they just made TDR super relevant again. I'm a big TDR fan. I love TDR. I've did countless Allegiance runs of TDR because I love it so much. I even used the Cradle in BL2. So suddenly, a white TDR weapon being viable. Whew, that is good. That is very good.
Everybody has their manufacturer.
Yeah. I guess I'm just a cheap kind of guy. But like, you know,
everyone bullies TDR, don't they?
I mean, it's replaceable, and I can just get a new one behind every corner. But talking about favorites, now that's like a very personal question, kind of like, what are your guys' favorite Borderlands characters? And bonus questions, maybe even weapons. But I think you kind of touched on the weapons a little bit, so mainly characters for now. I'd be interested across all games. Seriously.
That's okay. So that's a little open-ended. Do we narrow this down, or are you just saying every character in the entire game?
Yeah, I'd say at least BL3, like playable characters, okay? And BL3,
Okay.
you know,
Playable. Mhm.
and the BL3 characters are discouraged because we kind of know those.
Well, playable characters, I'm always going to be a Zane main. That's just the way it works. I'm sorry. It's not that anybody else is worse, because I really was excited for Moze when I found out that she was basically going to be Mech Warrior the character, because I love Mech Warrior. And then of course Sirens. I love Amara. I love Maya. I love Lilith. All three of those were really good. So I figured I'd continue the line, but Drunken Irishman kind of beat her out too. And then Flak, I like the premise of Flak, but when I saw how glass cannony they were on release, for something about that just didn't fit as well for me. So I just let Liz take care of that one instead, and I stuck to the drunk Irish guy who couldn't kill anything at that point in the game. He had no buffs. Everything was relying on kill skills, and you had no reliable way of keeping your kill skills up while a boss was fighting, or while you were fighting a boss rather.
Like quick question on that: have you played Timothy in pre-sequel?
I did. Yeah.
Do you think they could have like taken a few of his elements to make Zane overall better? Because like Timothy was also this kind of kill skill based character, but he kind of excelled on this one skill where he was able to trigger his kill skills by his clones expiring or killing something or dying.
Yeah.
Which kind of made him able to keep up his kill skills during bosses.
Yeah, that would have been perhaps a good way to look at it, but I think they wanted to improve clone play in general, focused more around just using the clone in that particular tree, where they wanted Blue Tree to be a little bit more utility focused, so they split it instead of merging it like it was. And I think that was to kind of have a power distribution, which it worked out, but kill skills, again, in Borderlands don't work when you're fighting bosses, because you have no way to keep it up. And the way they designed the character was in reliance of having your kill skills up all the time, in order to, or at least not all the time, but most of the time, so your power could spike. So to put it another way, Zane is on a flat plane where everybody else is on a flat plane, and he's only seen as strong enough when he gets those spikes, so he gets his spike like everybody else gets a spike. But everybody else can activate their power spikes more reliably because it's not around just having to kill something. It's, oh, Amara hits a button and then something happens, and now she can do ties that bind, and now everything in the room is dead. Flak just hits obscenely hard, no survivability, but it's dead before you are, so it's fine. Moze, now she blows everything up, so it is what it is. Zane was always a completely different way of looking at it. It was, somebody pointing out a snowballing character. That's a good way of looking at it. It's supposed to be somebody to get rolling, but you could never get the ball rolling. It's just, that's just the way it was. So, yeah.
I mean,
now it's better, of course, but back in the day, that's what it was like.
I think like the balancing of the game and how it rapidly changes really like keeps the community active, because I can see people coming back to the game after, for example, half year of not playing, and they're like, oh, I used to play this character, is it good still? And he shows us build that is totally broken because meta totally changed about certain character. And about that, like we recently had some changes made to the game alongside the arms race and fourth skill tree. So, Nootmad, what are your thoughts on balancing the game right now? Like, how's the balance of the game of characters overall?
I think right now the balance for the game is probably in one of the best states it's ever been. I think balance-wise, before this, I'd say maybe the week or two before Mayhem 2.0 release was also one of the best states of balance in the game. And then once Mayhem 2 came out, Mayhem 10 came out, I felt like balance sort of got thrown out the window because a lot of weapons fell out of viability. And then we got a few DLCs that just gave us some really incredibly busted weapons that just sort of force you to use those, or otherwise you just stick with these other legendaries that aren't as good. So I felt balance sort of got a bit whack after that. But then Gearbox did those really big balancing changes in the hot fixes and really fixed up a bunch of stuff. But yeah, then with Arms Race, they balanced out even more weapons, got 4 skill trees, and they also changed scaling a little bit because they got rid of M10 enemy damage as well. So yeah, I definitely feel like as far as balance and scaling goes, I think that it's in one of the best spots it's ever been for sure.
People don't remember. people don't remember what Borderlands 2 was like,
Oh yeah,
especially on
that is
release.
true. Yeah.
And over the course of its entire lifetime,
Yeah.
Borderlands 2 was never really a very balanced game.
No, it was not.
You had
Yeah.
to do some really cheesy shit to make your builds work. Salvador is a walking bug,
Yeah, he's still.
quite
Yeah.
literally.
Just a list.
And yeah, and he always will be, but they had to leave it in because they started balancing the game around Salvador's extreme power spike because they had to, and so everybody else fell by the wayside. Like Maya had like one viable build, and it was the immolate glitch Maya, zombie Maya, and that was it. And I loved it. And then for some reason, Gearbox was like, "We don't want that no more," so we nerfed it. And I was like, "What the fuck? That's the only way she could do relevant damage." And then they nerfed Kunai. Lol. So like, you know, it's so much better now than it was
100%.
then. And let's not
100%.
get into Ultimate Vault Hunter mode being
Oh,
a
no.
travesty, and then Op 8 being what it was, and we still made it work, and now it's 80
Op
Op 10.
10.
I just couldn't anymore. I could not do it anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I remember when like the Commander Lilith in the Fight for Sanctuary DLC came out. I had my X and OP8 level 72, and I played this DLC with Pirik back then, and we finished it, and I was like level 73 after an entire DLC with side missions, and I was like, no fucking way, I'm going all the way to 80 now, and then do 2 more OP levels where I have to refarm my gear every single time.
Yeah.
And I usually did it, you know, but then I was like, nah, you know what? Borderlands 3 is just around the corner. I have a job. I have social obligations. I won't do it.
Yeah,
I
well,
have to put it down for a minute.
at some point, like when the mods started to show up, like people tried to balance the game as well, with different effects. We could say like the community patches up to this day still edited.
Yeah.
Did you play with mods the Borderlands 2, Mitsu, or just vanilla game all the time?
So, I never played with mods. A lot of people did, but there was a community sentiment, and it was unfortunate, where if you had things like Super Happy Fun Time Engine or other mods and abilities, people would start getting suspicious of everything that you did. And I've never wanted to give anybody any reason to ever suspect that I used mods or
Right.
Gib to just get whatever I had gotten or anything like that. Everything that I had ever obtained in Borderlands 2 was always because either the community had given it to me, of which there was many examples of that, or I went out and farmed it and earned it myself. And that was just a personal choice, especially when it came to the Hunt 2, because I
Right.
remember the original Hunt and Hunt 2 had some controversies to them, where people literally had to have their task managers open at certain points so that you could prove, oh, I don't have this open. See, it's not there in the list. So I just never wanted that to be the case, so I never played with mods. Most I did was turn off the HUD so I could do hide and seek.
I think I
Yeah.
go on.
No, please go on.
Oh, I was gonna say, on the mod topic, I think the only thing I played was randomizer, just because it seemed like really fun to play. Just being able to like pick up something and trying to figure out what weapon parts are in it. Then you see like a random white pistol, and it turns out it's like part Norfleet, and it's shooting out like massive purple orbs of energy, just destroying everything. And then random mob spawning as well. I remember when me and my friend first did it, we got to the start of Stuff and Shelf just before you speak to Hammerlock, and we had a Vermi spawn. And it was like a level 10 Vermi, and like our lives ended almost immediately. And it started camping our respawn station, so we kept getting killed over and over and over and over again. So it was a very rough experience, but it was still really fun. But yeah, randomizer was basically the only mod I ended up playing with on BL2.
Yeah, I mean, now since we're still in the kind of mood of like things that we like, things that we did, is there like any kind of like super bad gear that maybe has been fixed by mods? Doesn't matter, but is there any kind of bad gear that you guys like? Like it's kind of like this guilty pleasure to use it. Like for example, the Morning Star in BL2.
Bad gear.
Ooh.
That's
I'm trying to think, because usually that's a tough question, because you don't usually think about the bad stuff you use. You always go crazy for all the good stuff you use. You're not like, oh man, this sucks. Why would I do it? Oh, Although I will say, chat's calling for you for something, Newt.
Oh no. What is
They're
it?
suggesting you mention something. Go ahead, say it. Say the thing.
Say the
It's a good
line,
choice.
dude.
It's a
Say
good
it.
choice for something really bad.
Sorry, but Pure just got you here.
No, I'd say honestly, if it was a good to serious answer, I'd say it'd be like the TDO pistols, like the bangerang and the gunnerang. Something I've been playing around with like basically since release, just because I really liked it in BL2, and then I was using it in BL3, and it was like very mediocre. But then I found ways to make it really work, and then it made like a really solid build out of that. So yeah, definitely, I think the bangerang and gunnerangs are just really, really fun guns to use, and probably definitely a guilty pleasure weapon of mine.
Mm,
Well,
okay, so I'm gonna
Sure.
ask you, Mitsu, for now, like changing a subject a little bit. We got a question for you. How many scarves do you own? And do you own Tom Baker style Doctor Who long scarves? Because you always show up in style. Like we had a little chat before the stream about how we'll prepare for the interview here. But yeah, how many scarves do you own? Scarves.
So if I had to take a wild guess, I did a good job of keeping track until I got to about 55, and now it's somewhere in the 60 probably range.
wow.
Almost all of them either pertain to video games in some form or football teams. And by football, I mean real football, not American hand egg crappy football. For example, this is the
Ooh.
Portland Timbers Pride scarf from this past year. You can see it right here.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's I actually hate the Timbers, but because I'm a big Seattle Sounders fan. But as it turns out, because I have friends in the Pacific Northwest and some of them are from Portland, they thought it'd be fun to get this as a gift for my birthday. So I can't turn down a good scarf, and I'm not gonna burn it, which I probably should. But this is just one example. I've got like 4 or 5 Pride's Seattle Sounders scarves too. The one I'm
awesome.
wearing right now is R2D2, and then it just goes on and on. The only kind I don't have any Borderlands scarves. Nobody's ever made official merch. Gearbox and 2K are sleeping on it, and I've been on their case for 5.5 years now. Give me some Borderlands scarves. They won't do it.
I'm
I
sure
mean,
there
that would be a
should
good
something
time
on
even,
Etsy.
like-
Should be something on
Like
Etsy.
winter is in front of our doors.
Yeah.
There's no better person to model scarves than Mitsu. They have the perfect person to model it. It just makes sense, you know. I don't know why they're not doing it. The opportunity's there.
Okay, so
I don't
what's your favorite scarf? Maybe I'll ask also. Do you have like favorite?
So if it's probably one of the first ones that I ever got was a Portal 2 scarf. I would go and get. I actually have no idea where it is right now. It's probably somewhere in the area. But it on one side has Aperture Science on it with Atlas and Peabody, and on the end both of them are going into like their respective colored portals. And then on the other side of it is all the different Portal 2 the little boxes that you see before each challenge that let you know what kind of mechanics you should be looking for to utilize in the next challenge. It's probably one of my first. Well, it is one of my first, but it's also one of my favorite scarves. And the Tom Baker scarf, yes, I do have one.
Okay.
I have an official Tom Baker, and it is, I think it's either 10 or 12 feet long. I have to wrap it twice in order to get it around my body.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's not really warm though. See, I'm looking at this question because I'm reading some of the show notes here. That question's from Killer 6. It says, "That liar! There's no way that scarf is not warm because it's so big. You're wrapping it around like this." Hold on, this is a visual, so everybody who listens to this later isn't gonna be able to get it. But just imagine I'm wrapping a really long scarf around my neck. And like,
Yeah, we're gonna add audio description later on. We're gonna edit it in.
Mitsu tie scarf.
yeah, like how far
With
around is it?
subtitles.
So it's like this, but twice over. But look how much room this
so
is. Your neck is
scary.
exposed
Yeah.
right here.
Damn.
The front of my neck is completely exposed. It is not serving its purpose as a scarf. There's no functionality here. It looks great, but who cares? It doesn't work.
Not functional.
Okay.
No, it doesn't work at all. Ugh.
So now that we know that what really angers you is wrongly wear scarves, let me ask you, Nootmad, as your name says, what makes
Oh,
you
man.
mad?
Oh, what makes me mad?
What
oh
makes
boy.
not mad? Yes.
Where does the name come from, Newt?
Where does the name come from?
And what makes you mad
no.
also, yes.
What makes a Nootmad mad? What makes a Noot go Nootmad?
Or people chewing with their mouth open makes me mad. That makes me
Ooh.
irrationally angry.
That's a good one.
I think everyone can agree with it. I don't think anyone will say, "Yeah, sure, just chew with your mouth open. It's fine. I'll appreciate you." No one's
Who
gonna
would
say that. Exactly. But yeah, I think that's one of the things that make me so irrationally angry. Just because it's something you can so easily fix, yeah, people still do it anyway. So I feel like that's something like that. It just, yeah. So that's definitely something that would make me mad for sure. And as far as where my name comes from, so my name, well, my main game name for many years used to be Mine Watermelon, and it was Mine spelled Mein, like the German way of saying mine. So that used to be my name. And then I started playing Rainbow Six Siege, and I started playing that competitively. So and then I changed my name to Nomad. And then at some point during the game's life cycle, they released a character called Nomad, and then the naming got confusion because then when they would say either my real life name or they'd say Nomad, and then I'd get confused whether they're talking about me or the in-game character. So then I changed my name to Nootmad, just because it's sort of still like Nomad. And also Pingu was like one of the only pictures I had in my pictures folder. I don't ask why. So I saw them and was like, yeah, this makes sense. So I just went with Nootmad, and it's been sticking with me ever since.
Also, like on the topic of like collections and scarves, like, do you collect something, dude, Matt? Do you have anything that you collect? Like, we'll even accept Funko Pops.
So I really like suits. So I have a lot of different suits, and because of that, I have a lot of different ties as well.
Ooh.
So I definitely, yeah, ties is something that I like to get a lot of. What else do I like to
So
collect?
cool.
That's probably about that. Yeah, just ties and like formal wear, like suits.
Oh.
I like that. So,
Like you and Mitsu should like go together and then find a third person who like collects shoes and hats, and then you're like a trio that just fits people perfectly.
oh, that'd be
Get
perfect.
all the suits, ties, scarves, hat, shoes.
I might
Made-
actually learn a little sense of style from this idea.
Oh,
Ooh. It's a win-win-win situation.
I can see
Let's
now
do it.
not choosing for you the perfect tie and you choosing for him the perfect scarf. Yes.
yes, we can teach each other the art of ties and scarves.
Yeah.
I
Learn
already
how
see
to
the
tie.
montage. It's gonna be wonderful.
Yeah, you learn how to tie a scarf like a tie,
Oh,
and how
yes.
to wrap a tie like a scarf.
Okay,
I was
Gearbox,
about
if
to
you
say,
listen
well, what
to
is
us,
a tie?
tie.
Hey,
What is a tie if not basically a smaller scarf?
that's true.
The
At what
elegant
point does a
scarf.
tie become a scarf?
Yeah.
Does a tie have to cover your neck to be a scarf? Is that what makes it a scarf?
The big philosophical questions on Meet a Streamer.
only the deepest questions.
And also, do we have a Borderlands themed ties? Because I don't think we do yet. So next to the scarf,
Claptrap tie. Come on.
Mitsu has his finger up.
I feel like at one point in Gearbox's store I saw it, and it was yellow with an orange vault symbol all over it, and that was the pattern. I don't know if that was actually me seeing in the store, or if Randy at some point was wearing something similar, or somebody related to Gearbox was wearing something similar. So it might have not have been Randy, because Randy doesn't wear ties, but he wears those ostentatious shirts. But I could have sworn I've seen at least one in my life. There has to be someone out there that has one.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
surely we're gonna get a Borderlands formal wear line with scarves and ties and all that, right? I expect
I'll
you
wear
to
it.
lobby for this change, Mitsu.
Yes, I'm in. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Totally, man.
No way.
But to tie this whole topic back to like more Borderlands specific questions, maybe.
So that's what we were talking about.
Oh yeah, wait, this is Borderlands? I thought it was a Far Cry 3 server. I'm sorry. I'm wrong here. We're still talking about like best things, worst things. So I'm just gonna continue in this fashion. Like the next question is gonna be like, what do you guys think is the best DLC in all of Borderlands? In all of Borderlands, we even include Borderlands the pre-sequel here, and
We-
Tales. If it has DLC, it doesn't, right?
Unfortunately not.
Damn.
Tiny Tina's.
Ooh, brave answer.
Tiny Tina's. It's because Tiny Tina's contributed to the main storyline it gave a whole new perspective on a character that people had been kind of on the fence about. I remember liking Teen at first, and then I was like, all right, the shtick's a little old. And then Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep came out, and it completely redeemed it, while also telling a completely new story involving Borderlands-related stuff, where we get to go and fight like Dungeons and Dragons style monsters with all these cool references. They make a Doctor Who reference in that too. At one point, I forget what they call it. I don't think it's Inspector Space Time. That was Community's reference for that. Yes, but it was something else similar. I think it was like Space Time Police Box or something. Like it was obviously
probably,
that, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't super on the head. But and dragons, when they weren't being buggy, were probably one of my favorite boss fights as well. So yeah, definitely that one, because it actually contributed in every way to the main story of Borderlands.
What about you, Noot?
I'd say I really like DLC 3 from Borderlands 3, Bounty of Blood. I really enjoyed that. Like the story was really nice, the gear we got was really nice, the design, like the whole Japanese dinosaur aesthetic was really, really well done, I think. And the story as well, although it was really short and condensed, I felt like it was really good. Like it really stole the story from start to end. And yeah, like it would have been nice if DLCs, like Mitsu said, if they just built upon the base game. But if they were to do that completely own thing, I like it the way DLC 3 did it. Just like do a completely different story, like really unique design and aesthetic. And yeah, I just really like DLC 3 as well. The environment was awesome, weapons are good. And yeah, I think it was really nice DLC for sure. Probably my favorite, I'd say.
I was really looking forward to the DLC, but there was not enough cowboys for me and too much Japanese stuff. Yeah, so I was looking for more cowboys there, actually.
Fair enough.
Yeah, okay. Well, when we are the subject of Borderlands 3, what do you think about legendaries? And aren't there too much of them? If you could, would you like decrease the amount of them in the game? Or would you like change the balance of how many you get everywhere?
So I think if we take it back to like day one Borderlands 3, where legendaries like dropped like candy, like they just dropped literally everywhere. You do around a slaughter shaft and you literally get like 100 different legendaries. So I definitely felt like legendaries in Borderlands 3, I don't know, like in Borderlands 2 when you got a legendary, you felt really, really excited that like, oh my god, I finally got a legendary, yes. But in Borderlands 3, they're basically as common as like a white weapon. So it's sort of, I felt sort of devalued the worth of a legendary. Not saying they're bad guns, but it sort of lost the attraction of saying, oh yes, I finally got a legendary, hell yeah. So I guess my issue with that is that it feels like it's way too common. But I feel like because there's something like, I don't know, if I was to check the loot list, there's probably like 200 plus legendaries in the game already. I think maybe if they were to tone that down a bit, I think that'd be pretty good. But yeah, I feel like just because there's so many legendaries, the drop rate has to be high. Otherwise, you're never going to see them. But yeah, I think, yeah, just too many, like the drop rate's probably too high, but I also feel like there's too many legendaries in the game. Like a lot of the legendaries could just be unique purple weapons or blue weapons even, just to make it feel like a special legendary is what you're getting. So yeah, that's my take on that.
What about you, Mitsu? Sharing the opinion or...
Yeah, absolutely. They need to perhaps spread out the loophole just a little bit more. I think there are still a few overlaps and a few that aren't on any tables right now, if I'm recalling the list correctly, and somebody will probably yell at me if I'm wrong, but that's fine. I deserve it. So if you can do that, and we see Borderlands 2 got the scaling wrong, but got the loot right. And it's funny because now we've gone the other way. We got the scaling right, but the loot on release was wrong, and now we're almost there. We're so close.
Yeah.
You know what I'm kind of hoping? I don't know anything about what's in Director's Cut, but I would like to see it a little bit more endgame focused. So I would like to see them have a complete loot overhaul and restore some of the loot that belongs to the things that it belongs on to those things. Because I think, what is it? They moved something. It wasn't Kilovolt, but they moved. Oh, Genevieve. They moved something
breakup.
off. Yes, they moved messy breakup off of Genevieve. Why? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Like that's the joke. Like that's the point of having it on that character.
It's her voice as well for the drone that spawns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just gave it to someone else.
What? Just have it to put it back. Why would you take it off? Somebody had to have forgotten. Like somebody in the live team was like,
Maybe.
"Oh, we'll just move this one off of here." And then afterwards, they went, "Hey, did you guys remember that it's supposed to be Genevieve's gun?" They're like, "Ah, nobody will notice." Everyone noticed. Everyone noticed. So, I'd like to see the change that around a little bit. I'm hoping that they have found a way to make it so that bosses can be respawnable. I would like to see that happen immensely. That's one of the things that holds me back. When I first started streaming Borderlands 2, I would open my lobbies because it was very easy for people to just drop in no matter who you were in the Borderlands community, and I would just play with random people all the time. I made a lot of friends that way. And I would like to see that kind of play come back, but it doesn't work. Like, Nuke could drop in whenever he wants to in my game, but as soon as we finish killing Graveward, I've got to save and quit so we can do it again. Then he's got to jump back in, and that extra step does put people off from playing the game. So finding methods to be able to have respawnable bosses so you can just consistently farm with the same group over and over again without having to save and quit would be a huge deal.
Yeah, that would be a nice change to the game. Continuing that question, actually, Noot, is there anything you would add to the game if you could, like, make one change to overall how the game works, the gameplay? Similar to what was just mentioned?
One thing.
It can be two
I
if you
think-
want.
Maybe fix the way anointments work, I think. Just because right now there's like 40 different anointments. And even now, because now we have the Iron Bear anoints that are 7 different anoints for some reason. One thing I would change, like right off the bat, is condense all those Iron Bear anoints just to be a single anoint that buffs hardpoint damage, instead of having one that buffs Salamander, then one that buffs V35, and then one that buffs Railguns. Because I feel like that in itself just dilutes the anointment pool even more. So if you're trying to farm a legendary, you have to deal with the fact that you might get that anoint on it as well. So I feel like maybe some method to maybe swap in and out of anoints, maybe make it so, like, something I've heard in my stream chat as well is like something the way Diablo does it, where you can swap in like different gems or something like that, just swap in and out between different gear you have. So I think something like that with anointments. Obviously, it has to be balanced at the end of the day because Borderlands is a farming game at the end of the day. So there still has to be that sort of farming element to it. Otherwise, you lose the allure of Borderlands. So definitely something that would make it easier to get anointments, because with the current game balance is right now, you need anointments. You need the good anointments, otherwise your build's not going to be as good. So I think something to do with that you can fix or change the anoint that you have on your weapon, that would be something I would change. Obviously it has to be done well, but yeah, that would be a change that I would try and implement.
You know, one thing from Borderlands 2 to 3 that I noticed that ironically changed was we talked so much about anointments. When was the last time you heard anybody bring up weapon parts? Ever.
Exactly, yeah.
Ooh.
And I'm going to point this out to you guys because not everybody knows this or remembers it, but I do. There is a comprehensive breakdown for every single gun of the game that you can go use whenever you want to go see every single piece of a gun and what that does to buff this or lower this or mess with this. And nobody cares.
Yeah. Oh man, but I remember
they tried so hard because in Borderlands 2 you could eyeball it and see, oh, that's a double penetrating uncamped Herald, but it doesn't have the right grip. I don't want that.
Yeah.
You could eyeball and say, oh, that has the right scope. This is what I want. Cool. Now they have this, but you couldn't really break down those parts comprehensively. It had a little bit, but not too much. Yeah, and we had to like go and figure it out ourselves. And now they provided all of that, and everybody's just anoints. I just want anoints.
Yeah, but like I remember back when Borderlands 3 was first like announced, like these things were shown. When we were shown that you can inspect those things, the parts, and see them what they do, like people lost their minds because we were still in the Borderlands 2 mindset of, okay, the most important thing on a gun is the parts. And nothing else matters. And it's really funny how you pointed this out because actually I forgot about it too. Like parts seriously do not matter anymore. It's all about the anointments nowadays. You need like this 390 anointment or like the URAD anointment, and if you don't have that, you can not deal any damage if you want.
Yeah, but on the other hand, Okay, sorry, continue, please.
I was going to say that I think that's sort of where game balance issue starts to come into play as well, because when you look at weapon parts, they give you like 5% damage here and there, right? So it doesn't really make a difference. But then anoints come in with, 150% damage, 100%, 250% damage, 300%. So I think things like that, I think anointments in general are just really overtuned. And I think because of that, then we have things like Mayhem 10 with crazy enemy HP scaling. So I think at the end of the day, if there were to like fix something as well in terms of balance, that they'd have to turn down the damage of the anointments as well. Just because right now, getting a weapon that does 300% extra damage for literally nothing, just shooting your gun, I think that's a bit crazy. Things like Urad is fine because you're forcing yourself to do something, so you have to put yourself under health gate to get that bonus. So there's a risk versus reward sort of thing. But then you have things that just press F, get 300% damage. Like that's, I don't know. To me, that's a bit ridiculous for me in terms of balance.
Press X to win.
Exactly. Anyway, what were you saying, Barry?
No, I was gonna say like in Borderlands 2, I mean I used to focus on parts as well, but I couldn't ever remember some of them. I always had like this small printout on the side of my monitor, checking it out, like, oh, that's a good part. Yes, I really had a problem with remembering them, and I had like, okay, this part, try to memorize that. But I think like because of anointments, like parts doesn't matter that much anymore because they focus so much on anointments. Maybe we're like just too used to look at the parts and focus on that, because now this is not a focus anymore. I mean, they did a lot of changes for Borderlands 3. And starting from that, we didn't get a new Vault Hunter. Instead, we got like 4th skill tree. So they're doing a lot of tests with completely new things for the game. So maybe that was the reason. So they like put something new and put something that we are used to be less important in the whole game.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, but like, do you guys think actually that the game as a whole has improved since its release? Like we're talking about like how they split off the anointments and how diluted the pools and kind of made it worse again. Then my Mayhem 10 came along back some months and kind of threw things off a bit. But do you guys think that the game is in a actually better state than it was on release? And for that matter, we can also take the Steam release actually,
like
because then it already
better.
Yeah.
Like absolutely, it is better. Like anyone who says the game is worse than it was when it came out is like just objectively wrong. Like I'm sorry, but the game is done nothing but improve since it started. Like Gearbox has done nothing but like show constant support with the weekly hot fixes, the monthly patches, just constantly making the game better, and they've been doing exactly that. Like right now, like I'd say the game has improved miles and miles upon where it was when it first came out, and that's that's exactly what we want with a game and a developer, to show that sort of improvement and constant support, which Gearbox has been doing. So yeah, they definitely improved the game.
They have been listening. It's not like Borderlands 2 where we got some infrequent updates every now and again, and most of it, almost all of it, was changes that made absolutely no sense in the grand scheme of things. Buff money shot, nerf kunai. Like why would you do that? So now originally, so on release, Borderlands 3 was in a state, and then they nerfed several things. They nerfed this, they nerfed that, and there was no compensation given. Everything was just getting hit with the bat.
Yeah.
Some of it deserved it, the pipe bomb. Some of it really kind of didn't. And people were getting really upset. People were extremely irate that they had worked so hard to create certain builds, and those builds were getting put in the dirt almost immediately. Nobody knew what the vision was, and nobody saw it being conveyed to them. So week to week, people weren't sure what they should be going out and doing.
Yeah.
And now we have moved to a point, especially after the Steam release, where the philosophy of how they're balancing the game has drastically changed. Not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it has changed. Because they've said, all right, nerfs feel bad. So if we're going to nerf something, it better be really, really pointed, and it better have a really good justification. What we're going to do instead is find the points where other characters might be lacking and lift those up. And so we're going to buff things. We're going to buff guns. We're going to buff Zane a little bit. We're going to find ways to make other characters feel better without making other characters feel worse. And that's what needed to happen in the first place. So this philosophy change really reflects the maturing attitude of Gearbox in terms of finding better ways to keep us engaged and having fun playing the game without like smacking us down when we find something that's super broken.
Yeah, definitely. You're totally right. Like, they definitely at the start of the game, like in the first 2 months, even there was a lot of knee-jerk reactions to stuff. Like they'd see pipe bomb, nerf. Gorillas in the mist with flak, nerf. Like Mo's spamming stuff with the bloodletter and the hex grenade, nerf. Like it was definitely a bit weird because I've never played a game where they've nerfed things so heavily in such a short period of time. But yeah, exactly like Mitsu said, like they've definitely learned, they've listened. We have the creative team now where we can just feed them directly. They will pass it on to the devs. Devs will act upon it. They'll say, yes, we're working on this. We're looking into that. And that sort of transparency is something we want with any developer in a game we play because it feels like they're actually listening. They're actually contributing. They want to see the game grow instead of just going completely silent with the game come out. Then all of a sudden, month one, we have a patch that changes so many things. No reason justified as to why they change things. But yeah, it's really cool to know that they are listening, that we have these methods of communication where we can directly influence the game's future, essentially. And we know that they're going to listen, they're going to act upon it, and they're going to do what's in the best interest of us at the end of the day, which is, yeah, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's really nice because I can see sometimes like people discuss certain changes in the game in our server, in other places, and like they actually discuss how could some things can be improved or changed to make the game better. And I can see later like they show up in hotfixes that is where those things were actually changed the same way. So I can see like exact things that people talk about and they actually happen, and that's really great. That's really great for first of all keeping people play the game, because you do the game for the players and you want them to be happy, right? With like the right amount of challenge and changes they want to see in the game. Well, no, but I have a question for you because they said we like see a lot of people here coming over to like get some advices, including builds, for example. And we know like you're our Mo's builds expert, one of Mo's builds expert. So we have a question for you. Why do you name your builds like you do?
I think for one, they go on YouTube, so obviously you need to come up with a catchy YouTuber name. Otherwise, no one's going to click on it if you just call it, this is a flacker shooter gun build. No one's going to click on that. So obviously you need to come up with a fancy name. So that's basically most names come from just trying to make it somewhat clickable. So that's why I have like Metal Jacket Mo's and then BFG Iron Bear. Just because people are like, oh, this sounds interesting. Let's go check what this build is about. But yeah, most of the time, I think it's also fun too, just to name your own builds, because it just seems sort of boring just to say, yes, this is my Gatling gun build, this is my Plague Bearer build. But I think if you're like, oh, this is my Metal Jacket build, this is my BFG Iron Bear build, I don't know, it just feels kind of cool to have these different named builds. And yeah, that's basically my answer to that.
And like touching on the thing of like new things coming out and, you know, all the communication, to Mitsu, when as like the host of these shows, you get to like show off all these cool new things that Gearbox has in store that they're gonna deliver to us. And although you said, for example, that you don't know much about the designer's cut just yet, how hard actually is it to not accidentally leak information during these shows, during these streams, to not like say something that you know that probably no one else knows yet?
So there's two sides to this. The first side is as much as I want to obviously shout from the rooftops some of the cool things that are coming down the pipeline, there's there's three things, I guess, because I just thought of the most important one. Rule number one in the video gaming industry I have is don't fucking leak things. Just don't do it. Stop it. I get so angry because I remember when Fallout 4 was leaked, because Kotaku basically, like, they kind of fudged it, but they basically broke their NDA is what happened. And as a result, Bethesda has not worked with Kotaku in an official capacity since, and Kotaku still takes indignant stances in their crap-tastic articles. Why you work with us? Well, you fucking leaked something. You have nobody to blame but yourself. So don't leak things. That's my number one, I guess, my baseline about how I feel about the gaming industry, because these are people who are going and trying to create experiences, and
100%.
they want to like create those experiences, and they have beats we want to drop this information now to build the hype for this next thing, to build the hype for the next thing. When then we blow it all up and have it all come together. You're telling a story when you're building up for a game like that, right? So that's one. Two, the difficulty in it, you have to kind of retrain your brain to think about what is out now that you know everybody knows about that you can talk about safely, and then the things that aren't out yet that you have to be like, okay, I can't say anything like that. And I'll give you a hint. And this is actually something I learned before I got into doing what I'm doing, so I don't feel so bad dropping this one. And some gamers will pick up on it because you guys are smart cookies. When somebody looks at you and they say, wow, that's a really interesting idea, wouldn't that be cool if that was a thing? Or a developer looks at you like, maybe we'll take note of that. That could be a thing in the future. Usually when they're giving you like winks and nudges and nods like that with kind of conversational material, they can't say it outright because plausible deniability, but they're kind of hinting towards that being something they're definitely working on, thinking about seriously, or maybe already is in progress and will be in the game or will be a series title down the line. So you just pick up on those cues. And three, I like my job. My job allows me to be able to pay a lawyer so that the lawyer can tell the federal government that I deserve to have my wife back from Canada. So I kind of don't want to lose my job. So,
that is very much understandable.
Okay,
Yes.
we promise
Have some motivations.
we won't ask you questions that you don't want to answer here, we promise. We try to at least.
Well, okay, there's a difference. There's want to and can. I want to be able to answer every question. Whether or not I can,
That's the other case. Yeah. Okay. So back to Borderlands 3. There's a question for both of you. So, do you think there should be an option to deactivate the mayhem modifiers on mayhem levels? And like, if yes, then what could be done instead of like those modifiers?
I think the way they did Mayhem 11 was good and bad at the same time. It was good because no one liked the Mayhem 10 modifiers, let's be honest. Some were fun, but most of the time the rest were just a pain in your ass. And so, yeah, it was good. And the fact that they made it so there was a compromise, so you get half the legendary world drop rate, that was fine. But I felt that the fact that not everyone plays on Mayhem 10, not everyone wants to play with enemies that have 8,500% extra HP, shield, and armor, right? I think what they should have done is just made a toggle for each Mayhem modifier that would disable the Mayhem modifiers and halve the world drop rate. So that way people can play on whatever Mayhem level they're most comfortable at and also have that compromise that they don't have to deal with the Mayhem modifiers at the same time. Because right now, if you don't want to deal with modifiers, you're forced to play on a difficulty where not everyone is comfortable at playing at, you know? So I think if they were to change that, then create each Mayhem level, add that same Mayhem 11 lack of modifiers, half the world drop, and just add that to each Mayhem level. So then, yeah, ultimately everyone can play at the Mayhem level they want and not have to deal with the modifiers at a compromise so they get, you know, less legendaries. So that's how I would implement a change like that.
I understand why they tried to do Mayhem modifiers. I thought it was a really clever idea at first, but Borderlands isn't yet to a point where it's so much like Diablo that we can get away with doing something that's a little bit more Diablo-esque. The only way I would like Mayhem modifiers to remain if you were going to keep them on is if they were only for boss fights. So they made fighting Wotan, for example, much harder because the spinners will spawn or lava pools will form under your feet. That's a way to raise the challenge.
Yeah.
And then, of course, because you're taking that added risk, you should be entitled to an additional reward where your chances of getting more legendaries as a result, you get maybe like 2 or 3 extra rolls that have a chance for you to get extra legendaries, something like that. So that's a good way to do it. But to put it for every single mob in the entire game, that's frustrating. That's super frustrating.
Yeah.
I think the scaling of the health, the armor, and the shielding is in a fine spot. Them doing Mayhem 10 damage because they were equipping Mayhem 10 guns, that I did not like, but I don't think that was an intentional change, so we can kind of don't have to worry about that as much. Exactly. So we could probably do without that one. But otherwise, I just the way it is now, just have the ability to turn on and off modifiers for every Mayhem level, and it should be okay.
Give it use for Iridium so we can re-roll them. like even, so we can change individual modifiers. So you get 4 really good ones, but then you have, I don't know, it's like a buddy system. We don't like having enemies that are just randomly invincible, so you pay 100 iridium and you can roll that specific modifier to get something else.
I think there's something to be said for how often we actually suggest ways to use iridium to them.
Sure.
People have suggested using iridium to re-roll anointments, for example.
Yeah.
People have suggested it to re-roll back in Borderlands to actually just straight up re-roll guns. Now we're talking, you obviously use it to respawn bosses as well. Now you're adding another complexity level to it where you could re-roll mayhem modifiers. Having a currency in there that isn't necessarily a gun, where people can go out and farm it and then get the benefits of doing it if they want to, is a great way to add diversity of choice for players to be able to enact with, or interact with, whether, and that's a good idea.
Because at the end of the day, you're not forced to farm for iridium, right? If you want to choose to just farm the standard way to get your own, that's fine. But the option is also there to give a use for a currency. Because to me, I don't know, I feel like I'm sort of disappointed with the fact that, like, in Borderlands 2, you had iridium. I mean, even iridium in Borderlands 2 wasn't that great aside from supporting raid bosses. But in Borderlands 3, it's literally just there to buy cosmetics from Crazy Earl and the veterans shop right now. And then right now, but at this point in the life, everyone's stockpiled like 20, 30,000 plus iridium with no real use. So I think that would need to put in something. Yeah.
Well, you do have the gun. You have the iridium fabricator if you really wanted to go that route too, but that's more for funsies than anything else.
Yeah.
It's just giant iridium dump of like 250 a shot. But then you could get like 2-3 legendaries, but then we go back to the other issue we were talking about earlier. Does that solve the issue right now with legendaries being too plentiful in the game? Well, it's a super cool gun, but it doesn't. It just contributes to a problem that we're unfortunately having at this point.
Exactly. Like, you have the choice to spend. Yes, you can spend 1,000 iridium on the gun to get 4 legendaries, or you can spend 15 minutes in Slaughter Shaft and get about 60. So you really got there's a balance to be made before we have that sort of choice. But okay, I'll use the gun instead this time. But yeah, like I trust Gearbox. With the game's still going to be supported, I hope, and I'm sure they'll implement continued changes to make the game much more nicer for the players, and yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah. Well, like on the topic of like still mayhem, what are you guys' thoughts on like locking the certain gear behind mayhem levels? We've seen that there are a few select bosses got like new drops from mayhem 6 upwards, like things like the dictator, like the chaos sun. What do you guys think about that?
I think it was a good change. I think it was a really good change because weapons of that power should definitely be locked behind a certain difficulty, because if they dropped like candy for everyone, I guess balance would be sort of compromised even a bit more than that. But yeah, definitely locking it behind raid bosses like Wotan, locking it behind Mayhem 4 like the Chaos Sin, locking it behind Mayhem 6 like the multi-tap and the Reflux and those sorts of guns. I think it was definitely a good move, and I definitely would like to see them continue that trend if they were to add more stuff.
I'm going to get accused of elitism, but I also don't care. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah. You have to incentivize people for taking harder and harder risks. Yeah. You do. That's just gameplay 101. If people don't have an incentive to go and play on the hardest levels of difficulties, they're either going to get bored or they're going to feel, well, I mean, they'll get bored, but they'll still play if the game is really holding up that kind of way. Yeah. But when you get to a point in game design where you're trying to elevate it to a level where I think Borderlands wants to take things, you have to start really giving that back. We talk about Diablo a lot here. Diablo does that too. Only on, I think it's past 4 can you get certain legendaries out of things on Diablo. And then after that, I think on Hell 10. I forget what it is. I haven't played Diablo in forever now. What is it? Inferno levels? Inferno levels. Probably Inferno. Anyway, point is, it makes you want to go play. And get better at the game. And everybody out there, every single person who's listening to this right now, every person in Borderlands, I firmly believe everybody has the capability to be good enough at this game where they could at least get to Mayhem 6 to be able to do it. Even Mayhem 10. You could, you could do Mayhem 11 if you really wanted to, if you don't want to deal with mods. But you are good enough at this game. If you're not good enough at this game, or you don't have the time, or you're nervous about what you have, seek out people. Watch some of Nootmad's builds. Go find somebody in the community to learn from. And like I did, I was talking at the top of this show about Saint Vicious. I wanted to learn how to play Udyr because I was crap at jungling and wanted to just be better at the game, right?
The Jondre classic.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And I
Exactly.
wanted to learn how to be better at the game. So there's nothing wrong with somebody out there seeking out a streamer, seeking out a content creator, and saying, all right, what can I do to improve? What are they doing to improve? Yeah. And you will learn and you will get better at the game, whether you realize it or not. You might not realize it, but your brain does. And it will ultimately allow you to be better, and you'll feel better about it too, because you'll be like, man, my friends can't clear Mayhem 4, but I'm killing Mayhem 10 right now. Just snapping all over them.
Straight up.
Well, yeah.
So like overall, the consensus is that this is like a good idea to have like better gear at higher Mayhem levels. So do you guys then think that in the future, like in the far future of like post-COVID 2022 or something, that we can see like Mayhem 50 and like guns like every 5 Mayhem levels that get added, and then someone like Mayhem 50 or just, I don't know, like doing a 1 life run with 1 health, but you get like the super good gun though.
Not in Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
Not in Borderlands 3. I don't know how much I can get into it without getting into trouble, but I had several conversations with folks at Gearbox, and learning about how they actually had to like mess around with things to make Mayhem 2.0 possible was fascinating, because it was never their intention. So the game was never designed with that to be the purpose. So imagine trying to have to rework the entire framework of how you have this game designed to implement these things. Yeah. Which is why I don't like to like just straight up say Mayhem modifiers are awful. There could be a place for them, but they tried so hard to implement these things in when it was never the idea in the first place to put them in. Right. They just wanted to try something completely new.
Yeah. I guess that also what makes me very excited to see what's in the future for the Borderlands franchise and like future sequels, because right now we have, 4 skill trees, which is really new to Borderlands. We have arms race, we have the takedowns, we have anointments. We have so many new systems that are obviously like very much work in progress, very much still being tested and ongoing worked on. Just makes me really excited to see what, a potential Borderlands 4 could include in that capacity, because we know when it comes out, it's got to be like the finalized, tested product. They know what works, they know what didn't work because they tested in BL3. So when BL4 comes out, if it ever does, we'd have like a really awesome mode of arms race. We'd have really nice mayhem system. We'd know the anointment system would actually work really well nicely. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, talking about. Sorry, continue.
I was going to say the fact that they're taking so many different risks in BL3, adding things that are really new and not standard to the typical Borderlands formula, I think is really interesting and exciting.
Yeah, talking like about totally new things that Borderlands 3 added, like for example, arms race, which is basically a roguelite. What do you think about adding PvP system to Borderlands? Like not just duels, but just like whole new area or like type of game where you do a PvP with other players.
Oh, please no duels.
I'm a very PvP focused player. Like I've played competitive PvP games for a very, very long time. And arms race, I feel, would have been like the perfect platform to have a PvP thing, because just I feel being dropped off in different areas with your friends, trying to race like who kills the boss first, and just because the scaling as well is really nicely done, so we don't have to deal with the fact that Moses Iron Bear can kill anyone. We don't have to deal with the fact that Amara can just phase lock you and you can't do anything and you just immediately die. So we don't have to deal with the fact that there's skills and action skills that can mess with the balance of PvP, because right now it's just literally just the guns. So it's just a matter of getting the best gun to shoot your friends. So I feel like arms race definitely had and has the perfect formula for a PvP mode. And yeah, that's basically my take. And I definitely feel like PvP could potentially have a place in Borderlands as long as it follows the arms race formula and scales everything accordingly.
Our brothers and sisters over in the Destiny community have tried for years to find a balanced system for their game. And it is similar to ours, of course, but is not necessarily the same. But Destiny PvP will never be legitimately competitive. And that pains me to say, because I love Destiny. It will never happen because of the nature of the randomization of the game. It can't be balanced. It can, unless you standardize everything and they go back to their Halo roots, and they're not going to do that because it's too far gone. Arms race, what Newt said, is very much on the money. If you're going to ever create a Borderlands-centric PvP system, you have to strip everything away from them and make it solely about the guns. And you just say, all right, you got lucky and you picked up this one, you got lucky and you picked up that one, or that one didn't work and that one worked. You can't have skills. And if you do, they have to be extremely basic and probably more crowd control focused than damage focused.
Yeah.
And you have to strip the skill trees away. And as it is, most people at first, like everybody was excited for Arms Race. But one of the things that people had as a complaint is that there wasn't anything that made Moze feel different from Amara, feel different from Zane, feel different from Flak. So people wanted something in there, but you can't do that. You just it's too convoluted for you to balance those kinds of systems and rectify them. It's too much. There will always be somebody who feels like they're way too strong. Amara slaps that ball over to you, you're just gonna die immediately. And how do you balance that? Do you nerf the ball that strongly? And why would you just feel awful? You'd be like, why do I even use this then?
Yeah, and then Zane could just smack down his barrier and be invincible, and the barrier is all about blocking bullets. So if you made Zane take damage, what's the point of the barrier? So yeah, like you're definitely right. They really took the right approach by just stripping them down to their most basic elements and just truly focus on the gun game, which I appreciate, honestly.
Yeah. And so if they were going to do that in a future Borderlands series, it would have to be implemented in a very similar way. Because your options become either nerfing PvE, which all the PvE players are going to get extremely pissed off about, or you nerf PvP, which makes it turn into Destiny, where everybody feels like, all right, well, we can't take this seriously anymore. Let's just grab sniper rifles, pop heads, and move on with our day. So that's just something I've learned over years and years. Watching my wife, for example, when she goes to town, she'll pull out a sniper rifle and just pop heads, because it's just the easiest way to go about doing things half the time. And then use your super. And it's like, that's it. So.
Yeah, but like, if you guys say that like Arms, like we all can all agree that Arms Race did a lot of things right. So if you guys would like to see a PvP mode, it should be very akin to Arms Race. But like, wouldn't that then introduce the feared by many fans Battle Royale mode? Because you drop these people in with randomized guns in this zone that gets smaller and smaller. Like, you take away the end boss, add 90 more players, and you basically have a Battle Royale.
I mean, you have your PvE Arms Race, right? You can still play that. It's not saying the PvE mode has got to become the PvP mode. Just make that a separate matchmaking. So you can queue for the PvE one and just do it by yourself, or just do it with your co-op buddies, or you can queue for the PvP mode and do the PvP mode. Like, there's no... Obviously, the loot will still be the same, because you don't want to incentivize... Because not everyone wants to play PvP, right? Not everyone wants to play PvE. So locking things behind either PvP or PvE would definitely be questionable in my opinion. But I feel like just give the extra option. So you can do that if you want, or if not, that's cool. You could just do the other option. But anyway, what were you saying, Mitsu?
There are opportunities for a Gambit style way of playing Borderlands 3, and I think they could actually do it even better. Where, and you mentioned this earlier, having two teams drop into a map and race to like level up and grab guns and things like that, and then they have to kill a boss somewhere in the zone, and then the other team, maybe they could stop them using PvP mechanics. Maybe it's not directly shoot at them, or maybe they spawn in similar maps, and then things that you do, if you go to a certain area, you can hit a button and it buffs something on the other side, and it goes back and forth like this. Yeah, you have so many different ideas for where you can build upon Arms Race for both PvE and PvP and PvEVP, as they call Gambit, opportunities in the game. We just have to see. The most important thing is when they do something like this, they're going to find a way to put a unique Borderlands spin on it. So that's something that we can speculate all day about, but it could be something that we haven't even conceived yet that they will bring to the forefront in however long it takes for them to decide to do what they want to do next with this mode.
What they could do, potentially, is they could make a separate Arms Race skill tree with like an Arms Race action skill sort of thing. And then you have to kill certain bosses that drop certain currency, right? So you kill a boss over here, he drops a certain token, you get to kill another boss, you get another one of those. And then at some point in the map, there'll be a vendor where you can purchase specific Arms Race skills or an action skill or something like that. And I think some of that, because then it still feels like Borderlands, because you have your action skill, you have your special skills, but then make that tree designed for arms race, so it's not incredibly balanced, let everyone be able to use it as well. So it's not just only Mo's can use this one and only Amara can use that one, because then, like Mitsu said, then you get the whole someone's always got to be better than the other, so why play the one that's got to be worse? So I think if they had some sort of universally accessible tree and made that something you can purchase and acquire during your arms race run, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I'd actually love to see that. I mean, if we imagine like, for example, the 4 skill trees, like imagine if you could just like had like a Iron Bear cup for like every player that you could like purchase, or like the shoulder gun for Zane. I think there is a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a bit different question, maybe going away a bit from our Borderlands 3. So what's your favorite personal, like, funniest experience you had in Borderlands? Like, situation or, like, I don't know, any Easter egg that you enjoyed the most through the whole series? Like, it can be Bill Free or other ones.
I really like the Max Sky appearances in the DLCs. I think that was really funny. Like in DLC 1, it was really funny. Like when we first flew away, like me and friends jumped on the rocket ship and we flew away with him, and that was really fun. And in DLC 2, I think was it? Yeah, and then he came back in DLC 2, and we're like, oh wait, this is the same guy. And then DLC 3 happened. Like, wait, where's Max? Like, no, what happened to Max? Is he not returning? And then DLC 4 came back, and you see that little room with all these little like pictures and diagrams of him trying to go into a different, like through a wormhole and that. Like, I think that sort of continued inside joke was really funny. And I really appreciate the fact that they stayed consistent with like, okay, the community really likes this guy. Let's bring it back in this DLC. Okay, let's bring it back in this one as well. And I think that was really cool. I definitely say that's probably one of my favorite running Easter egg sort of jokes in the franchise for sure.
Max is awesome. I was equally as sad when Max did not show up in DLC 3. Of all the places that I really thought he would too, he wasn't there. And I scoured the whole thing. I was like, I've done every quest in every zone.
Yeah.
Where's Max?
Yeah,
He wasn't around. All right, well. That's, if you remember, I think I asked about that on one of the Borderlands shows. I think I was talking with Max.
Max?
Yeah, Max Babin. And I was like, hey, Max, is Max Guy going to show up again in DLC 4? And he's like, there might be something in there for you. You just wait around and see. You might find something nice. I was like, all right, okay. They didn't forget about him. We're okay. Yeah.
That was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for him as well, because I'm doing every single side quest, every single mission. I have to go everywhere. That's why no one ever plays with me on my first playthrough, because I have to check every single corner for everything. I was like, where is he? Why is he not here? I did everything. I mean, my missions glitched. I had to redo the whole DLC, because of course I couldn't finish them. And I was doing them again, like, where the heck is that guy? And yeah, I was happy that he was back and forth. Well, talking about like a Borderlands show and then your work, Mitsu, how do you feel about working with Tess and Shrifty? Because you like three of you work together a lot. How is working with the girls? Don't worry, if you like really say something private, we'll just cut it off from the video. Don't worry.
No, it's okay. So I've known Liz for the better part of, I want to say, 5 to 6 years now. When like my friends like Gathalion and everybody kind of started moving towards Destiny, that's how I got to meet her. And we did some interview work together over the past few years at Guardian Con, which is now called the Gaming Community Expo. So we would do hosting stuff like that, and we would always have fun going back and forth and producing those shows. So that was really nice. Working with her on Ultimate Vault Hunters is very easy. I call her One Take Liz while we're doing scenes and getting ready for everything, because she only needs one take. So if I write something for her, I know she's just gonna deliver it. But the only problem is, you ever watch Anchorman?
Yeah.
You ever watch Anchorman?
Can't say no.
One of the things in Anchorman is Ron is amazing at his job, but that's because he reads everything on the teleprompter.
Yep.
So Liz is very similar. If I write something for Liz, I know she's gonna nail it. The problem is if I do something wrong and write maybe I get something in there by accident I didn't want, or I have to like, I read a question mark instead of that. The way she will deliver it will respond accordingly. So whatever I put there, it's gonna be unfortunate. But if I write something that's something, then we have to take another take. But she's absolutely incredible, and so much fun. Tess, I can rely on Tess for anything. When it comes to like when we need to make a big push because we want to do something special on the show and we're kind of worried that there might be some pushback. She's always in my corner. She's like, all right, I love this idea. Let's go ahead and try and see what we can do to make it happen. I don't have to worry about looking over her shoulder when it comes to the editing process because I know she's gonna nail the editing. So I see the final cuts and I'm like, all right, well, what a surprise! Tess did a good job again. So the editing process is very smooth, and she does the graphic work for not all but most of what we do. So I can rely on her for all of that stuff. She handles all the technical, and then I handle all the writing and kind of the just main crux of certain things. And then we just work really well together. And then all three of us work together on Ultimate Vault Hunters to all produce that show. And I think we're very lucky that we all get to work together on these projects as a result.
So like you touched on like that like Tess has like this talent of like only needing one take if things go right. So you could say this is like a small like secret talent of hers. And we actually have a
like
question.
Liz?
Yeah, like Liz. Sorry,
Yeah.
I mixed up
No,
the
it's fine.
names. That's my bad.
that's okay.
That's on me. Like what we have a question from the community, which is that what is a secret talent of yours? This goes to both you and Nootmad. If it can also be just like a little party trick, like you can dislocate your finger and just pops back on. I have a friend who
You
can do
first. I got nothing. Hold on, I gotta think about this.
that.
What would my secret talent be? I think one of my secret talents. I played a lot of field hockey in my life. I played it for about maybe 16 years, I think, and I played it on a state and national level as well. One of my secret talents for that. So we do a thing called crossbar, and it's something that came from soccer. So when you kick the ball, you have to hit the top of the goalpost, just as like a practice for aiming. So I can do the same, but with a hockey stick and a hockey ball, and I have almost never missed that. So I'd say that's probably my secret talent.
So I guess to your list of things to do on your stream, you have to fight the alligator. Now we have to do the hockey trick. Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
24-hour stream is going to be very interesting.
Maybe fight an alligator with a hockey stick. I mean,
Oh yeah, like
I do
it
need
all
to keep it at a
connected.
distance.
double whammo.
I don't know if I have one. My life is typically an open book. There aren't too many secrets or parlor tricks or things that I wouldn't just do because I would do them anyway. I don't like everything that you see. That's what you get when you're spending time with me. Like everything that I am on stream, excuse me, that's exactly who I am when I'm in person too. I feel like people have hidden talents or secrets or things like that when they're ashamed of this special thing that they can do, but they shouldn't be. Like if you can just nail 3-pointers like nobody's business in basketball, be proud of that. If you can like pull your arm all the way back so far down that you can scratch your butt, like be proud of that. Like, well, I guess here's a secret talent. Let me pick my nose with my tongue. All right, cool, I did it. But like that's it. But that's the point. Like I would do that in front of anybody. Maybe not somebody I was actually trying to impress, but like I would do that in front of anybody. I would do that hanging out with my friends. Like that's just what I would do. I don't feel a need to hide myself from anything. So I don't know. It's anything you see. That's just me. That's just me.
That's
Okay.
just his way of saying he's talented at everything.
No, that's my way of saying I'm talented at nothing, and nobody should ever be impressed with anything I do.
Well, you're
we
talented
understand.
at actually like you're talented at not showing your talents, but at the same time make it sound like you know everything. So I guess that's also a talent, to like make people think that there is something when there's absolutely nothing in it, and make it
that's called
sound
the
so
talent
smart.
of bullshit.
Yes.
That's called bullshitting. I'm from New Jersey. We can all do that.
I tried to find more like nice words for that, but yeah, talent of bullshit sounds good as well. Um, Okay, we asked you before about the worst guns or guilty pleasures. So, what do you think is like the absolute best gun ever in every single game that was released in Borderlands, including Borderlands Legends, if you want? But yeah, what's the absolute what's the
And
absolute
Borderlands 2
best?
VR, don't forget that one.
Yes,
Oh,
of
no.
course. In Switch.
Oh, that's such a difficult
sweet.
question.
There's so many metrics that you could go by when
Yeah.
you're talking about what the best gun is, because I guess the only best metric that you could really use is what gun overall is the best for every character in that, I guess, respective game. Because you could make the argument that the interfacer is Sal's best gun, or but that only applies to if you're going that sort of build route and it just shreds. But you could say that the double penetrating unkempt herald, while slightly not as good on Sal, is extremely good on everybody in the game.
Sure.
Because it doesn't matter, because that gun's just good as it is. So it's such an open-ended question without like realizing it, because you have to really think about what judgment call do you make.
Okay, so I'll ask this question differently. Okay, let's say we're in like a post-apocalyptic future, there's a war, and you can choose one single gun from the whole series that you're gonna get with all its like possibilities, skills, everything, anointments even, and you're gonna have that one gun to protect yourself and survive, like assuming you survived the first bombs and everything. So what would be that one gun you want to have to like survive it?
Post-apocalyptic, so present day, right?
Kinda, yeah.
No, we're
Oh, yeah,
mid-apocalypse.
We're mid.
Good one. Harold? I mean, I'm still probably gonna go with Harold in that case, because like you don't have to be accurate with the Harold, and we're normal human beings, right? So one of those bullets would just make a person blow apart, and you've got two layers fanning out like this. And what's your coverage? Like 75 degrees angle or something like that?
Something like that,
Yeah. Close enough. All right, I got him.
I'm sure practically speaking, you'd have to go with the Infinity, right? Because you get infinite ammo.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Infinity would be the best post-apocalyptic weapon. But I guess if we're assuming practicality aside, I think the most fun gun I've been using, I'd say the Plague Bearer from BL3. I think that's a lot of fun to shoot. You shoot this big ball of energy, and then it just swarms little missiles to everything. I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah, I think another twist to this question would be like the one that you guys find like the most fun. Like for me, for example, it is the Baby Maker from Borderlands 2. Note, because I hate the Borderlands 3 Baby Maker, because it was just like always so fun to just like chuck a gun and it turns into two guns or three even, and it's like pink and blue depending on the gender, and has like actual gender ratios for something. Like I just loved everything about this gun. So maybe to turn this question into, what do you guys think is like the most fun gun for you guys to use? Like Nootmad has already named his one, the Plague Bearer.
Have I ever told you about a gun called the Sword Explosion?
Ooh.
The Sword Explosion. It's a
Very valid
gun
answer.
that shoots swords that explode. I don't know how I sell that to anybody any better.
Counterpoint. May I interest you in the Unicorn Explosion?
Whoa.
Ooh. Them's fighting words.
That's good. That's real good. Yeah.
Now you have a gun that shoots a shiny diamond rainbow unicorn that also explodes.
Maybe I'll get you one step further. May I interest you in the Diamond Weisenheimer? It's just a diamond gun that nobody can get, I guess.
At the end of the day, what are you gonna do with the diamonds? I mean, for me, if I had to choose one gun, it would be Gettelburger, because I mean, at the end of the day, everyone wants a good meal, and what's the better than the delicious burgers? Come on, like free food forever. I mean, call me fat, but yeah, I would go for the burger gun. And the cake grenade for that as a dessert. That's like totally perfect for me.
I mean, on the topic of like exploding things, I mean, we can also interest the Halloween fans among us into the famous Jack O'Cannon that shoots a whole pumpkin that explodes.
I think we can all agree that there's a lot of rocket launchers that shoot a lot of random things that we really want in our lives.
Yes, I think that's a very fair assessment.
Indeed, it is.
Yeah. Okay. So like, we've talked a lot about Borderlands, but I'm probably like you'd played different games before, like where focus on the different games before Borderlands. So do you remember what like got you into video games, and what was your first game, like the most early memory you have that really got you into like playing games? I know it's hard, but I couldn't
Oh,
even
no,
answer
no.
that.
This is the easiest thing in the world. Newt, you probably want to go unless you don't have an answer ready. Newt, you want to go first?
You
I'm
can go
good, man.
first.
All right, here we go. Everybody strap in, kids, because this is a bit of a story. So a long time ago, Mitsu had a mom. And then she died. It sucked. So basically, when I was growing up, my mom was a huge influence in terms of getting me into video games. We had a trailer in the Poconos, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from where we live in New Jersey. And I would go out there all the time. There was the Atari, and then back at the house, we had a Nintendo Entertainment System. My mom was so good at Super Mario Brothers. It was out of this world. That woman, she must have like played in arcades and stuff like that when it was like before the Mitsu times of existence, because she just nailed everything. She was great. And then she died, and I was really sad about that, because that's what happens when parents die when you're 6 years old. But I always retained a love for video games. I grew up with them. Family members were always trying to get me into technology, saying, "Oh, let's get him a computer so he can do this." And then I would just play Sim Tower instead of learning about how to actually use it. And I had the NES that my mom left me, and then of course the Atari. I think it was a 1800 is what I actually have. I wanted a 26. What are you gonna do? And then from there, it just kind of grew and it grew and it grew, and I get to experience all these different things. I had a Sega Genesis, Nintendo 64 that I still play every Friday with my friends. Like, these are the things that I do. I've been playing video games for the better part of 30 years, and it's just always been a part of my life. And it always will be. It always will. Partially because I generally, of course, do love video games, but I also see it as that homage to my mom, who just like left me that as a thing. If she knew, and if you believe in the existence of higher power and life after death, obviously does, but if she knew what I was doing right now, where I was making a living playing video games, she would be over the moon. She would want to be on stream. She like sometimes streamers get to have their parents on streams. Like, that would be my mom. My mom would be like, "Oh, what are you doing? You playing this right now? Can I play? I want to play. Let's play." And then she'd be like this personality. She'd probably be a better streamer than I would be, actually.
That's when Mama Mitsu becomes captain of the stream team instead of Mitsu.
Oh, she would. Oh my God. We would probably do like a Hanukkah dinner for everybody. She'd send everybody potato latkes, like everybody on the team. Oh, I could see this happening now. That actually, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Mitsu.
It is what it is. I joke about it all the time. Yeah, my parents are dead. Big deal. We all know. There, I ripped the Band-Aid off. Now everybody can laugh. See? You're laughing. I made you laugh. I made you laugh at my parents' demise. It happens. Everybody gets used to it. It's okay. It's a
What
perfectly
glee
natural
and
reaction to
cheerful
do that.
topics we have in store.
Oh god. I guess the first game I played, I think I remember now, was Spyro: A Hero's Tale on PlayStation 2. I think that's the first thing I started playing, and then from there I started playing Ratchet and Clank, and then Jack and Daxter, and those games were a big part of my PlayStation 2 lifespan. And then I got a DS and I played Pokemon Diamond, and then from there got a PC to play Minecraft, and I think that's where my PC game started from.
Okay. So we like talked about all the pros of the game and like the good sides of Borderlands, but well, what is your least favorite part of game, like of whole Borderlands franchise? What, like, there's one thing that is like always there and you are not a fan of, if there is something like that, of course.
Borderlands franchise.
I mean, the game's perfect. What do you mean?
Nothing.
All right, I'll go out on the limb here.
Ooh.
Story. One of the very few things that I still think is a lingering issue for me, and this does kind of apply to the way Borderlands 3 shook out with the DLCs is there's a main story that informs everything that happens in the Borderlands universe. You know, Borderlands 1, which didn't really have too much of a story, but it didn't need one. It was Borderlands 1, it was fine. We were kind of, it was a lot of world building and just kind of like explaining what the series is going to be about. Borderlands 2 had an amazing story. It had some issues with that story, some inconsistencies and things that didn't make sense. Plus, they went back on New You being canon, which made no fucking sense. And I'm still mad about it to this day, which is odd because if you play Borderlands 3, I think even in Arms Race, I think Axton talks about New You bills.
Yes.
So does that mean we're calling it canon again? Like, is it back in service? What is? So
I think
it's canon
Roland
again.
just failed to pay his New You subscription, so that's why he didn't
guess.
respawn.
I guess. Like, well, here's the thing that enrages me about it. There were ways to explain why it was okay for Roland to die, but we kept respawning in Borderlands 2, and they didn't take any of those roads. They were just like, Anthony Birch was just, it's not canon, whatever. I just don't, it doesn't work for the story I'm trying to tell, so fuck it. But it's supposed to be, and it was a big part of the world building of the Borderlands universe. Because if you remember, in Borderlands 1, the entire purpose of New You, for example, was it was supposed to be a storytelling element that said everybody wants to be able to respawn because who wants to die? So you have vault hunters who are going out trying to make money so that they could afford their New You bills essentially and never die. And it would just became this repeating loop, and it fed into that whole corporate mentality where it's like the corporations control whether you live or die and stuff like that. So it was a big deal, and to go back and nerf that essentially, it that always frustrated me, and it stuck with me as like really lazy plot development. And that's that, and not getting enough out of the twins are probably my biggest angers. And then we could talk about Ava, but let's not do that today.
We're gonna do that
can.
later, don't worry.
Yeah. Oh god. All right. Well, I guess we're getting into that later. But the twins needed more. Jack, you could sympathize with Jack. You love to hate him. You knew he was a bad guy and he did bad things, but sometimes you saw why he wasn't a bad guy, especially in the pre-sequel. And he was still awful, and he still killed millions and millions of people. But they still did a good enough job of portraying him as a sympathetic villain at the end of the day that's part of the reason we loved him so much.
Because they
never
humanized
did that with the twins. Yeah, they humanized them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's hard to do for a genocidal maniac.
Yeah.
But they did.
think
And they
there's
never did that for the twins.
There's a difference between like if you like character as what it is, like what it represents with character and everything, and there's difference in how your character in game approaches the villain. So if your character hates the villain but you love him, then it means it's perfectly balanced, because that's what you want to have in game. The villain you want to like meet on your way and hear him and see him around. At the same time, you really want to kill him. But with twins, I mean, for example, for me, it's both like a big no. Just please go. Well, what about you, Nut? What's the one thing you don't like in the series?
I think in BL3, the story I felt a bit all over the place, because what I felt like, they set up like 3 different stories. You had the COV / twin storyline. Then also you had that subplot of Wainwright and Hammerlock trying to like retake their Jacobs Corporation. At the same time, you also had Reese and like the Atlas versus Maliwan / Katagawa storyline as well. And I felt like they tried to put too many stories in one. And I feel like each of those storylines could have either been fleshed out as a separate DLC or just like been like a full focus of a game, because I would have loved to play a story where it's just helping Reese and Atlas beat Maliwan and defeat Katagawa Jr. That could have been a whole entire DLC and a whole entire story, and the same thing for Jacobs. And I felt like, it just sort of felt disjointed. Like there were multiple different storylines they're trying to balance that all had potential, but then they tried to put it all together, and then it all just fell flat because it couldn't build upon each of them to a great enough extent to care. So I definitely felt like the BL3 story tried to juggle too many things, I think.
Yeah. We spend maybe a variance of anywhere between an hour to 6 hours on each planet, and it never felt like it was enough for any of them.
Exactly, yeah. So they should have just fleshed it out, like stuck with one, followed through. So yeah, you definitely felt like, and then the end result was just a disjointed sort of plot line in a sense, yeah.
I mean, one thing I'll say though about like what I really like about the villains of Borderlands 3 Twins is that is also my saving grace for like them is that they were super involved. I feel like because like in Borderlands 2 you have like these long stretches where Jack will only give you like a quip or maybe send some loaders after you, but he doesn't really involve himself even after he's killed Roland and taken Lilith. And like, but like the twins are always there. Like they're there with like against Atlas. They're there on Jacob's Corporation. They're even there on Necro DeFeo, sort of, because they have like this whole little Melivon thing going on. It's like I think that as characters they're like lacking. I totally agree with that, but I really like how they implemented them as present beings, as things that actually throw things into your way themselves, and not just send the next baddest loader and send the next baddest loader, and then maybe next time we'll send a baddest loader or two.
Oh no. I mean, I think I had a problem with Troy because Troy was kind of like, I didn't really feel him. And once he started to be very interesting, like I was, okay, that's cool. There's something showing up. He's like starting to act up, starting to be his own man. And like, he started to be interesting. I almost said I enjoy this character, and then you kill him. And I'm like, okay, great. You just started to make him interesting and you kill him. Why? I mean, give him a chance to shine. At least 2 seconds before he becomes an anime antagonist that you just kill and that's it.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Yeah, it was kind of disappointing for me. Like, I had some hopes for him.
Yeah, like Troy had a lot of potential, like insanely high potential. This is what we saw in Eden 6. And like there was even this open end kind of when you discovered that he's not as worthless as the system made out to be. Like for a moment I thought that maybe he will switch sides, only to betray us in the end. This would have been so cool. And then we killed him.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that before, so I'm gonna ask this because I mean I have my own opinion on that. But do you actually think Ava is bad character? I know this is like the most discussed thing in the whole community, but what's your like actual opinion on that?
I might cop a lot of flack for this, but I don't think Ava's a bad character. I think she's just too normal of a teenager character. Like in Borderlands, you have all these wacky personalities. You have Tannis just like, oh, haha, random. Tina's like, her brain's just gone. But like Ava's just, she's literally a teenager. She's like literally a human teenage kid in the world of Borderlands. And it just feels like she doesn't belong in there. Like she does what a teen does. She doesn't listen to her mum. Mum says, stay in your room. Obviously she's like, no, screw you, mum. I'm going to go shoot some people. And then like, she's like, yes, Lilith, look after thing. I'm going to go fight a massive monster. I promise you I'll be safe. And obviously, teenage Ava's going to be like, no, you're basically my mother. Of course, I'm going to go be there with you. So obviously, she's got to escape and try and run to try and help Maya. So I just feel like she's very much a normal character. Like, she's just too normal of a human to be in the Borderlands world, I feel. And that's why she feels so out of place.
I've never heard it put that way. That she's just normal.
Yeah.
And I guess when you put it that way, yeah, that does kind of make sense. She's acting the most human out of pretty much everyone else in the entire series.
And that's why she stands out so much.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I still look at it in the other perspective of she's just written bad.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
she
definitely can be written better.
very, very poor decisions. And we're supposed to feel bad for her, but she gets rewarded for making them at every turn. She doesn't actively kill Maya. But her decisions and the fact that she's there do not help the situation. So her actions lead towards, if not directly contribute to the death of a hugely beloved character. Okay? And then Maya dies and her powers go to Troy, and then later on, Ava winds up getting Maya's powers anyway. But and I'm asking like, how did you know that, Maya? How did you know that? Because she says I'm taking on Ava because she's gonna be a siren one day, and I just know. How do you know that? Is the script for the entire series in that book that we don't get to ever open up or learn anything about this whole time? Is it in there? Did she read the script and just know?
I mean, I'll interject here real quick if I may. there, after the game, you can read all these siren logs scattered across the world and get like a lot of more information on how sirens work. Basically, they're trying to fill all the plot holes as hard as possible, and you get to talk in DLC 4 about it. And basically, what the thing is that a siren can decide who will get their power after they die, and as such, they can choose a disciple and train them, and once they're gone, the next one gets their power.
Yeah.
And if there's no one chosen, it gets gone randomly. This is kind of how they explain that Tannis somehow got Angel's powers. And what I think they tried to do with this explanation beyond is like, okay, so Troy has the power to absorb siren powers. He kills Maya, he gets the powers. When we kill Troy, the powers are out there. But like Maya, the official holder of them, said she's gonna have them. Ava's gonna have them, and then they just go over to her. It is kind of explained after the game, but like I agree that it's kind of like, I don't know, if like shoehorned in there.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like
it's more like made to fill the plot hole.
Yeah, it's like she finds Ava, and it seems like she's made up this point like right from the start that she was going to give her powers to Ava, but Ava has never done literally anything over the course of our interactions with Ava to warrant why Maya, who is a highly intelligent character, would decide that this brash upstart like nobody deserves to even remotely have the power over telekinesis and like choking people to death and Blight Phoenix. Like none of that seems like something that Ava, in any state that we ever see her in, should ever have.
Yeah.
At any point. And for all of that, she gets rewarded. And then she goes, oh, hey, yeah, Lilith, you should probably do something about that thing that's about to crash. And Lilith goes, all right, cool, yeah, I'm gonna go do that thing now.
Sanctuary's yours, by the way. See ya.
Yeah. The Sanctuary's yours. Have fun. Bye. And for all of the bad decisions that she's made throughout the entire course of all of Borderlands 3, she gets godlike powers and control of us, basically.
I mean, on the other hand, like
the fuck.
I actually want to see like in future if there will be like Borderlands 4, if like Ava actually like changes as a commander of the Sanctuary, because I mean sirens are kind of super mystical characters and they know probably more than regular human being, so maybe Maya saw something more in her, and like right now she's just this annoying little kid. And like I have two younger brothers, and when I played Borderlands and I saw Ava, I was like, oh my god, she's so annoying. Oh wait, she's like my brothers, exactly the same thing. My brothers annoy me a lot, so they made perfect teenager, because teenagers always annoy us. But yeah, I think like you made a fair point that she doesn't meet the consequences of her actions too well. Like she's getting rewarded instead of like, okay, her mother figure died. That's kind of a big blow for a young girl. I can like maybe buy it. But on the other hand, like I'm missing something here. Like she's getting like everyone pat her on the head and stuff, and no one like mentions that she kinda is the reason why it all happened like it did. So I mean, maybe we will see in future Ava getting consequences of that when she's gonna be a leader and she's gonna like have hard times with it. I don't know. It would require for us to have Borderlands 4 in the future.
You mentioned Ava being a lot like your little brothers, and everybody keeps saying that. Ava is a perfect representation of a teenage girl. That's fine. All right.
Generally angsty teenager. Yeah,
exactly. But you know what I'm trying to say, basically. A perfect representation of an angsty teenager. Absolutely. Are you going to put your little brother in charge of an intergalactic organization that's basically hell-bent on trying to save everybody across 6 galaxies? No!
Maybe.
I mean, the choice is either between her or Tannis.
And Tannis is the better choice. Tannis has an arc. Over the course of Borderlands 3, Tannis actually learns the value of human life.
That is actually
true. She has an arc! She should be the one!
You know what would be cool? If actually us as a Vault Hunters would be the leaders at this point, because we did all the like dirty job here to destroy twins. But on the other hand, if we were the new leaders of Sanctuary, we would like this would be the end of the story. Like you're the leader, you have to be on the ship because you don't go do dirty work because you're important now. But yeah, it would be like I don't know if they would do move like that to name you a commander and you commander there instead of Ava. I think it would make so much sense story-wise, but not much sense to like continue playing and doing more dangerous stuff all around the world. Actually,
I think I'm just gonna throw in my own little headcanon in there is that, you know, they have Ava, and Ava, as with Troy, has a lot of potential. With the difference that she's still alive, so they can work with that and probably, as we said, make a way better character out of her through, let's say, a DLC akin to the Tiny Tina DLC. Just this time it's Ava's DLC, and we see her mature and take on a better role or something, or learn a few things. Who knows? And then like in the next part, she's like this more developed and fleshed out character that actually fit to be a leader because she, grew accustomed to all this madness and craziness that is out there in the universe. Because and like the thing that kind of holds her back, I feel like, is that she is the stereotypical orphan character for this Borderlands title. Like we had Tiny Tina in Borderlands 2, we had Pickle in Borderlands the pre-sequel, now we have Ava in Borderlands 3, and each of them have lost their parents, are orphaned somehow, or lost a very important person in their life, like Maya, like Roland, and then they just take one of the stages of grief and just put them to the max. Like Tina, for example, like how she enacts revenge on her on the killer of her parents. It's like very much like anger. Then you have Pickle, who's like very much about like making the best out of the situation, which is a lot like bargaining. And then you have like Ava, who's a lot like denial. She can't really let go that Ava is gone, probably because of her, and she wants people to do something so that the thing that Maya did, the sacrifice, was not in vain, so she wouldn't have to take on the blame, complete blame that Maya is dead and nothing came out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she has like a lot of potential to still get over that. But for now, we have to work with what we've got. And honestly, it's just that we have a side character writing that was made a main character, and I think that's the main issue.
That's the biggest issue. Yeah, she definitely needed more fleshing out for sure to, like Mitsu was saying, understand why all this has happened. Like, why did Maya, like, we understand, like, because we know the character Maya, we understand that she's a wise character. She obviously wouldn't make a decision for no reason, but as the character in game, just from looking at Borderlands 3 at face value, we don't understand why Maya is giving Ava her powers. We don't understand why Lilith made Ava the commander of Sanctuary. So definitely, I was honestly expecting DLC 4 to build upon the whole Ava storyline, because we knew it was going to be about Craig. So if it's about Craig, it's got to be about Maya. If it's about Maya, then they could have fitted in Ava in there too. Like try to like Ava and Craig coming together to like overcome the grief of Maya dying or something like that, just to humanize both of them, to make them understand that this has actually happened. And then you can see Ava develop as a character towards the end of the DLC. So in Borderlands 4 does come around, you understand, okay, this makes sense. She's got to be the commander. This is it. Just things like that, yeah.
Yeah.
There needs to be a moment where she steps up and makes a hard call that people might not, and they may question her on it, or it might be something, it might be a situation where it's a no-win and she has to make a sacrifice, be it herself or perhaps somebody else, but it ultimately works out. Something where she learns and grows as a leader. Anything along those lines, because right now we haven't been with her long enough to really know what she's about, other than what we've been presented, which is angsty bratty teen. Yeah. And that's not somebody I want leading me into battle. I want somebody who understands the value of human life and why sometimes you have to play it safe and why sometimes you do have to make the hard call. She doesn't understand that balance yet. She's not ready to lead.
Like, watch as Gearbox turns Ava into this really good character, and then she makes the hard call to sacrifice herself for another angsty teen that will then lead the team. And the cycle continues. And then in Borderlands 5, we found out that this is all like the Siren's game, the Siren's gambit, to like get the angsty teens into taking on siren powers as hosts.
Teenager and making a siren.
Yeah, so like we talked
the whimsical
about
nature of sirens.
Some of the side characters and like some characters that never showed up in Borderlands 3, like Grump, you mentioned, the fans' favorite Pickles, of course.
Best character.
So tell me, like, are there any NPCs or like side characters that weren't shown yet in Borderlands 3 and you would like to see, for example, in the upcoming DLC?
Athena, without a doubt,
Yes.
Athena.
Wow, yes.
Damn.
Yep.
I didn't even have to hesitate.
I was thinking of Athena too because like what actually happened to her? If like I know
Exactly.
TPS have a lot of issues with story and like the story being legit, but like the ending of it with Athena being taken by the Aridians and we don't know what happened next to her.
What happened? What happened?
I
She just
mean,
vanished.
according to tales, I mean, I don't think if it's, I don't know if it's the canonical ending at the end because there's so many. But in one of the ending in Tales, she gets together with like I think what's the name of the clerk in
Janie.
TPS in Janie, yeah,
Janie.
and then
Ooh.
lives with her, and that's it. I mean, maybe we'll see her pop up at some point again, like with the same with Axel and Sal, you know, broke vault hunters that need some money, and Axel suddenly has glasses, and now they're running like a death sport for money.
Yeah, another thing
work.
as well. Like, what happened to Fiona? Like, we know Reese and Fiona went into the vault towards the end. We know Reese came out obviously because he's in the game, but there's no mention of Fiona. He doesn't say anything. It's just like Fiona never existed in Borderlands 3, and that's also a
Well,
glaring
someone
issue for
Battle
me.
Royale win.
Yeah, what about Gortys and Loaderbot? If like the Tales from
Exactly.
Borderlands got canonical, there's so many characters that could show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about
Sure.
Shade? Where's Shade?
Oh,
Should go
shade.
back. Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna like slowly come to like the end of this interview. Thank you very much for joining us here. That was a very lovely afternoon or morning for you, Newt. Yeah, I'm really appreciating you visiting us here. Thank you very much. Is there anything you want to like say, any shout out or something before we slowly finish up? Want to add something extra?
No closing comments.
Okay.
Yeah, you can shout out
Unless
your own
Mitsu-
stream.
Oh, yes.
Hmm?
Follow me on YouTube and Twitch. Nootmad on YouTube. Nootmad with two zeros instead of O's on Twitch. I'm trying to make an effort to stream more, so it would be cool if you guys could tune in.
Yeah, guys, totally follow him if you have the time. Mitsu, any shout outs you want to take?
Absolutely. Well, first, thank you so much for having me on the program today. Newt, it was a lot of fun talking with you as well, and
Likewise.
talking with everybody here on the Borderlands Discord. It really does make me happy to see that this community is growing and thriving right here, and that there's another facet that we can learn from and pull from when it comes to working on this interconnected project and process that we have and building up the community as a whole in the different pockets of the community that are all out there. So I just wanted to say thank you to both of you and to Newt as well for joining for that. And of course, if you are interested in everything that I do for some reason, I don't know why it would be, twitter.com/Mitsu Show, MITSUSHOW, or twitch.tv on the rare occasion that I do stream, twitch.tv/Mitsu, MITSU. That's
Okay.
it. That's really all I got.
Thank you very much, guys. For those of you who like jumped in the middle of it or like want to see again or like review our interview, we'll shortly post it on our YouTube channel of the server, and we will post in the server news all the informations where to find it. So thank you very much, and have a great weekend, guys, and talk to you soon, probably around the server. Bye.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
All right. Have a good day, everyone.